In the 1900s, music in America was still finding its own style. However, music theater was becoming very popular and was changing from an opera style to a genre all its own. Jazz was also becoming very popular and quickly overcame classical music as the most popular style of music in the 1920s. Very few composers would embrace jazz and fuse it with classical. Many other composers dismissed jazz and refused to integrate it. Leonard Bernstein, however, became very famous as a composer who would fuse classical music with other popular styles of music of the time, and became known as one of the greatest American composers of the 20th century. Bernstein was born in 1918 in Lawrence, Massachusetts. His parents were immigrants from Russia and Ukraine. His family moved to New York's East Side to seek better work when he was young. The family got a piano from his aunt, but they couldn't afford to pay piano lessons for Bernstein. So a young Bernstein at the age of 10 would work in his uncle's barbershop to pay for lessons. After graduating high school, Bernstein went to Harvard University and majored in music counterpoint. After Harvard, he continued his education and got degrees from the Curtis Institute and Berkshire Institute, and had some of the best music teachers there were at the time. After college, Bernstein got a position as the assistant conductor of the New York Philharmonic. Bernstein got his big break in 1943 when he was asked to step in for the guest conductor of the New York Philharmonic after he became ill. Bernstein had only 3 hours of prep time, but he amazed the audience with his performance. Bernstein became an instant American icon, and from 1943 to 1947, he was asked to be a guest conductor throughout America, Europe, and Israel. He also composed his first ballet, Fancy Free, in 1944. However, Bernstein was drawing criticism from classical composers for incorporating jazz into his works.
Whoa, 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 we're going on the town. New York, we're riding on a rocket.
While Bernstein was composing for the classical scene, he was also writing for Broadway. In 1944, he wrote his first musical, On the Town. It was later, in 1949, turned into a movie starring Frank Sinatra and Gene Kelly. However, Bernstein's greatest musical was West Side Story, written in 1957. This musical was a modern retelling of Romeo and Juliet. The story takes place in New York's West Side and is about two people in love from different gangs. West Side Story also tackled issues of race, social inequality, prejudice, and many other issues. While some see Oklahoma as a musical that made Broadway popular, it is West Side Story that made people see the inequality happening in modern society. Aside from writing musicals, Bernstein also continued to compose classical music, but he would also fuse jazz, rock, and pop into his compositions. Fusion is where you combine two or more styles of music together in one song. In 1957, he was appointed as principal conductor of the New York Philharmonic. In 1971, he was asked by Jackie Kennedy to write a piece for the premiere of the John F. Kennedy Center of Performing Arts. He wrote the piece Mass. This piece combined classical music fused with pop, rock, and jazz. He also added in chants from various religions around the world. The composition was meant to represent peace and unity, regardless of race or religion, and is one of Bernstein's greatest masterpieces. Later in life, Bernstein became a teacher, while also guest conducting for TV and other orchestras. One of his famous positions as a teacher was guest lecturer at Harvard University. There, he taught about the direction music would go in the future. Bernstein believed that pop music was the future of the music industry. In 1990, he retired from conducting, with his last performance being with the Boston Symphony Orchestra. Unfortunately, 5 days after retiring, Bernstein passed away from a heart attack. Bernstein is an example of how you are able to combine multiple genres of music together, forever inspiring new generations of composers to do the same.